do as many takes as you want. At first, it's good to have too many takes. More is good, less sucks in the editing bay, so you're not going to have a lot of experimentation to play with.
Welcome to the Your Story Studios podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things content creation. And today on the show, I'm joined by Andrew, and today we are going to be talking about music videos. Andrew, tell me about the music videos you produce.
So I do a lot of music videos. I work with a lot of artists in venues, on location. We just bang out a music video with what they like, whether it's just a performance, it's just the band playing, or if there's a little bit of story incorporated into it as well. Just depends on the vibe of the song or what the band wants and how they want to perceive themselves. We just kind of we have a big old discussion blending in story and performance, or even just going through performance and making it more visually appealing to their themes or their vibes or how they just want to portray themselves to social media at least.
Yeah. Do you have a preference on the types of those?
I probably prefer performance over story. Story's fine, but when it's not as planned and it's not as coherent, it's like only the people making the video will understand. People maybe watching will go, they're just dancing in a forest or something like that. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. But again, it just depends on if it looks visually appealing or not, it works. But sometimes I probably prefer performance over everything else because I can just go as wild as I want with that.
What about a hybrid? So a bit of performance, a bit of story. Do you like that?
I like that. I've done maybe one or two with a bit of story and it's fine. But again, just depends on the story and how kind of enticing that is. If it looks kind of interesting and being like, okay, cool, we've got a little bit of blending, a little bit of variety to it to add on. But again, depends on the theme, depends on how it looks.
Okay. Well, let's start talking through one of your favorite music videos that you've produced. Tell me about it.
So there's quite a few that I've done. Probably one of my favorites was with a band called Caution Thieves. There's some mates in Melbourne. They were just like, hey, we're doing a new record. We want to do a music video to bring us back out. They hadn't really been active for the last few years. They'd put out an EP and they kind of went quiet a little bit, played a few shows and said, hey, mate, do you want to come and do a video? We really want to see what you can do. We've seen all the videos you've been doing. I was doing a deal at the time where I was like, hey, I'm charging this much for a performance music videos. Anyone want to do it? Let's just chat and do something. And they went, let's give it a go. We got music coming. Let's just see how it looks. And funny enough, they were just like, we're going to do a music video with you. We end up renting a place called Backhouse Studios in Richmond, which is just a nice rehearsal space. And they've got a big, huge open area at the top with 3 huge bay windows that look out to the street into a church and everything. And they were like, we rehearse here. We're just going to book this place and we're just going to see how it looks. So we end up just going there. We had no really kind of visual idea of what we wanted to do. So we just kind of went, let's see how we look in terms of the location. We know what they wanted to do, which was a lot of just it's fast song, lots of cuts, it's a lot of close-ups, it's a lot of kind of they're more of a prog band, but they wanted to kind of focus more on a look almost some Slipknot videos where it's a lot of close-ups on guitars and drums and everything. They just wanted to be as chaotic as possible and just be like, hey, look, we got this time, let's just do as much as we can in that a lot of time. But it's definitely one of my favorites just for being so easy to shoot and so easy to film and so easy to edit. It was just the beat of the song was just perfect. And it was just my bread and butter to get that something that I thought was, this is just going to make my week. And luckily enough, when it came out, it blew up on their socials and they were just this is the most popular video we've had since being in a band. It was just kind of their resurgence. So it worked really well. And I was really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So talk us through the process of shooting this video. You're arriving there. Are you solo? Do you have a crew?
I was solo for this one. They did bring one of my mates who does behind the scenes stuff. So he was just going to take photos and he was like, hey, look, I can film as well. He had almost the same camera as me. So I was like, cool. If you film, that's fine. I wasn't too fast. I usually am just a run and gun on my own. I don't have a crew or anything unless it comes to that and they've got the budget to me for hire a mate and to come and help film. But yeah, mostly we just went in, set up the drums, set up the location, kind of went, okay, we need the spacing, spaced out the members so that everyone had enough space to do their own thing, but also not hit anyone else. So we did a lot of spacing and then just play through the song once just to give them comfortability because it's sometimes they can play the song in a rehearsal and be perfectly fine. But once it gets to hey, you got a camera on you and you need to be a little bit more wild with it. We usually do a take to get them a bit more comfortable and be like, okay, cool, I know what the beats of the song are. Oh, cool, I can do a kick here. I can do a spin there, get them a little bit kind of jazzed for it. Usually we start with that and then we kind of start blocking out, okay, well, I need to get the basic shots. So just a wide, medium, and close up of each member just to get that variety there. And then we start kind of going, all right, let's get a bit more creative here and do some different things. So like I remember setting up my wide lens, my fisheye lens on a tripod, and just had the two guitars standing sort of close together and just pan back between them to add that little bit of variety to it, and then just like paste them out in the big space because there was big huge curtains, so we just spaced everyone together or spaced them by themselves. And yeah, just a lot of focusing on fast movements, fast chaotic things. Like I really wasn't standing still or doing very like graceful movements. It was just like, no, we're getting up close, and no, we're going back and forth, we're moving from side to side, just getting as crazy as we can so I can just go wild in the edit later.
Yeah, and how many takes are you doing for this shoot so you can go wild in the edit later?
Gosh, it depends. Depends on how much time we've got in the space. I think in the space we had about 6 hours. So I end up doing about maybe 1 to 2 takes of each member, and then doing about 2 to 3 of each kind of like variety of creative looks for it. And then just going, okay, how much time we got left? Let's just do more. Let's do more takes. Let's do this type. Let's do this look, just so I can have that variety to play with. It does work quite well just having that little bit, like that one take more, because it's like if I shoot a take where like the drummer's doing something, then I get into the edit and it's like, oh, the fill that's really good is not good in this take and I can't use it and it sucks. And it's like having that just one extra take where it's like, oh, cool, I can blend these two together because it's like one from one side, one from the other. And it's like, oh, that makes the fill look a lot more better and a lot more seamless. Perfect. Works well for me. But yeah, it's usually, depending on each member, it's at least 3 of each member. So if there's 5 people, 3, 6, 9, 12, there's a heap there. So probably at least 20 something takes. And for a band playing the same song can get really repetitive. So just trying to keep them energized and keep me going, okay, cool, we're just going to go round robin. Let's keep going. Like let's bang through as much as we can. So trying to keep them at least in the moment, keep going. Because as soon as you let them have a moment to drag, and it's like all of a sudden they're waiting for their shot and they're kind of like, okay, what do I do next? And they're waiting and waiting for each other person to go through. Usually it can be a bit of a lull there, and all of a sudden their energy's gone. And it's like, okay, we need to get your energy back up and get you a bit more. And I have to kind of direct a bit and be like, all right, start coming towards me, start spinning, start doing this, giving me a bit more. And I'm usually like not yelling at them, but yelling to them, be like, hey, do this, do that again. Yeah, that was great. Do this spot. Really just anything to kind of get them to like go, oh yeah, I'll do that again. I can do that. And that gets them a bit more jazzed and gets them a bit more energy. And it's like, oh cool. It kind of puts a fire back in their belly for a moment. But yeah, a lot of takes, at least 20 or more.
Yeah, that's a lot. How do you keep their energy levels up? Is it lots of energy drinks or coffee or food?
Yeah, it's usually
a lot of pep talks.
It's a lot of food and energy drinks, or even like some water, because that space was quite hot, and I think we did it on a pretty hot day. Just trying to keep their energy up and like talking a lot, like guiding them every now and then, and so all of a sudden going like, okay, cool, we've done with this person. Hey, you're next. So as soon as we're done this, jump up and get ready. So it's more so if we're filming and guitarist A on this side, I'm going to get, cool, guitarist B, can you get on that side and get ready to go? Because as soon as we're done here, we're going to jump on you and keep it rolling through. So just at least say, cool, I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll even get them, even though I'm focusing on one member, I'll get the other person to just play along in the background just to kind of get a rhythm and get them kind of like, okay, cool, I know what I'm going to do here, and get them kind of to practice on their own. Sometimes that helps them get a little bit more comfortable with like, okay, well, I can do this at this point and I can get a bit more comfortable here. It really helps to get a little bit of guidance through there as well.
So every band member's not doing 20 takes or more.
No.
But there will be some takes where the drummer just has to be there because the angles and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Are there any moments where the drummer can sub out, or is he pretty much there most of the time?
Usually I would try and get either the drum, if it's focusing on one member and the drum is in the shot, if the guitarist is in it and it's just maybe like a hair of the drum, maybe it's just the cymbal, I'll tell the drummer, you don't have to go as hard. Like you can just kind of be there, like present. Same with like if I have any other members where I'm like, hey, look, I need you to play guitar in the corner. Like you're going to be on frame like every now and then, but don't worry if you play it wrong or go too crazy. It's just going to be, because it's going to cut and it may see you for a brief moment, but again, it's not focusing on you. Usually I try and let them have like a breather where they're like, oh, cool, I don't have to go too hard. Maybe it's like only my right arm really needs to go as hard, because that's really the only thing in shot. But again, yeah, it depends on the angle. Sometimes it's a bit easier and I kind of go, look, you have a rest. Like you've had like 5 takes where you're in shot. The drummers get it the worst because sometimes they're usually always in shot, but I try and give the drummer a break because it's like they're the one probably going the absolute hardest the whole way through, especially on this song. It was just a lot harder.
And lighting for this video?
Lighting was two soft boxes, so I just had two of the aperture ones on both sides. So one right in the center to get kind of the whole band in focus, and then one on the left and the right just to get a little bit more of a light on them when I do focus on them, so I don't have to move my lights all around. I just wanted to kind of keep it consistent and keep the lights on them, and also keep the bay windows on the back, so it was super bright day. So it's like looking quite nice. I was like, I don't want to adjust that. I want to leave that as is and keep that light guiding in, because it just made the shoot look a bit more ethereal, and it kind of looked really nice. So we're like, well, let's keep it pretty simple. I didn't go too crazy with the lights. I kept it pretty consistent because, again, they were like, we don't need crazy lights. We just need the edit to look like it's crazy. So there was a lot of effects in the edit way, but lighting wise, we kept it pretty simple.
Yeah. So talk me through the editing process. When you went into the process, did you have a plan, or was it a lot of happy accidents just trying different things?
No, I have a plan. Usually I sync up all the footage all together. So I have it in a big stack of every clip and go, okay, cool, name everything. And then I just go through the song without cutting anything and just put in beats and go, okay, cool, well, I want to cut here. Oh, this is a nice focus part here. I'll cut here. And then I'll just cut all the footage together and then just go through bit by bit and go, okay, well, this is a nice shot here. This is a nice shot there. And just like cut in and out. And I'll send like a very rough draft and go, hey, look, this is what I got. No effects, no color, no nothing. This is just raw. All the cuts are there. They may go, oh, hey, can you extend a few bits here? This is way too fast. Or, hey, look, this part sucks because the band's not doing anything. Or they may go, I'm making a stupid face. It really annoys me. And I'm like, cool, no worries, we'll just change that. Usually it's a basis of just seeing what looks nice visually and then going, all right, this is the baseline. What do you want more? What do you want more? What do you want less? And then they advise going, hey, look, this looks sick. We like this. Keep more shots like this. And then we go through and do that. And then they weren't really worried about the color grade. They were just like, the effects are going to be the one we're focusing on, because one of the guys was like a videographer. So he was like, I want it to be like crazy effects. We had a lot of blurs, a lot of inverted colors, lots of like textures flying across that kind of inverted all the members that look quite interesting. So I just like kind of went crazy and said, okay, do you want more? And they're like, yeah, more. We want more. We want it to look more crazy. I'm like,
dial it up to 11.
Yeah, basically. So lots of like zooms in, lots of like shakes, lots of distortion. And yeah, we just made it as crazy as we could with all the effects, and just like, because it had to keep the hype going, because it was just kind of like a very fast song. They're like, we want this to be like, there's no stopping. Like, it's like always in your face and it's always going. There's no lull. They just wanted to keep it very, very consistent all the way through, which I'm happy we did, because it just made the video look so much better. It was like one of my favorites.
Yeah, great. And what are you editing with?
Usually edit with Premiere Pro. That's like my main thing. I don't touch anything else. I don't touch After Effects or DaVinci, even though I want to get into DaVinci. All through Premiere Pro, and I just use my own textures that I've downloaded free over the years. I got a whole folder full of textures from different companies and everything that I've found. And then I just use a lot of my little techniques for blurs and transforms and distortions, and just add that in and just to give it a little bit of flair. But it's all in Premiere.
Yeah. Are you able to share some of your tips for those blurs and all that?
Really?
Because when I look at it, I'm like, well, how do you do that?
Really, it's just by using a lot of Gaussian blur and then doing a lot of masking. So to kind of move it around, usually I would do a fast blur. So it's just literally just changing it from 0 to 100 and back every now and then. They wanted a lot of blurs. So it's kind of like almost like the camera was going out of focus. So you can do it in production with the actual lens. But again, you do it in post anyway, because it's just a lot easier, a lot simpler. And I don't lose focus when I need to, because I just really wanted to focus on the members themselves. But yeah, doing it in post helped a lot to make that little bit of creative flair to it. And they really liked that effect. They really wanted that to be kind of throughout every now and then. And then I did a lot of like double exposure. So I would like layer in the same clip or a different clip that I hadn't used, and just layer it on top with another one, and turn the opacity down, invert the colors. So it made it like look like they were kind of like forming into each other at times with all the blacks and white colors. It would just form in. It looked really interesting coming through on the production side. And I was just like, this is going to look sick. And they were like, yeah, do more of that. That looks great. Like, they just wanted it to be as crazy as possible, which I was like, not even phased. I was like, yeah, let's go. I can go wilder. And I just kept making it more and more crazy. And they're just like, yeah, that's perfect. That's fine. Don't do anything else. Nothing else. We've hit the limit. We're all good.
Yeah, great. Well, it sounds like the band was really happy with the video. When you're doing the review process, is there a service that you use?
No, there's usually just a case of I will send the draft to them and say, hey, review, give me some time codes of parts that you don't like everything that you want me to change, let me know. It was full, go critique. If you hate something, tell me. I want you to be honest and tell me that you don't like this. Because again, I'm just doing a rough cut to kind of get an idea of pacing and to get an idea of what shots might look good. If there's a shot where you're like, hey, look, I look silly, or hey, look, this doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work for me. Because again, everyone's going to have their preference. So I really try and emphasize that, like, this is your decision on what you like. I want you to be happy. As long as they're happy, I'm not going to be opposed to changing something. If there's something where I'm like, they go, hey, look, I want you to change this. I'm like, I physically can't do like that. That's something I can't control. I'll tell them and go, hey, look, let's do an alternative. I'm going to try it this way. And they'll go, cool, let's see how that looks. And then we'll work to a solution that way.
Yeah, great. It's always good to work through solutions.
Absolutely.
All right, well, you've talked about that video. You've got one more video you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so there's another video with a band called All Regards. They're kind of like a rock band, like alt rock kind of band. We ended up doing a video for one of their new singles for like an EP that was coming out just the end of last year. So they were doing the same kind of process. They were like, hey, we got a new lineup. One single was about to come out and they're like, hey, we want to do another video to have come out after this. And they said, well, let's do one. Saw the same deal I was doing for that other band, went, hey, look, let's get Andrew on board. And they went, hey, look, we want like a forest vibe. We just want the song to kind of match. It's a very much a pop rock song. It worked well. So we end up just kind of looking around for places. I end up booking a place in the Dandenongs, in Mount Dandenong. It was a place where they do wedding receptions. So I was like...
So you actually had to book a place? You didn't just turn up one day?
No, luckily not, because it was just like, but there was no other place we could just turn up and find a forest. So we were just like, no, let's book an actual spot that we could find. Because there was a lot of like, we were looking at venues and then we saw this place in Mount Dandenong and then we're like, oh, they do like a room that has like a forest. So we asked them and said, hey, look, we want to film in the forest part. How much is it to book a room, book a house part that has the forest attached? And they said, oh no, you can just book the actual grounds. And we're like, oh, cool. And they did have like wedding receptions. Badly enough, they did have wedding receptions going on. So like the brides were there leaving to go to the weddings. So we had to kind of, it's a really awkward area to drive down. So we had to kind of move our cars out the way and be in the way of the wedding party trying to get to a wedding. So hopefully we didn't stuff up any wedding plans there.
But also like the sound. So how do you do the sound with the band?
So we in terms of that space, because it's basically outside and it was just echoing throughout a whole valley, we end up just...
There's no power sockets as well?
No, not at all. We did, well, funny enough, we had to, well, again, we needed one for a speaker because we had to play the song out loud. So it was either A, they play it through their ears and I just kind of match it to whatever the drums is. I just match the drums first. I've had that a few times, but in this instance, we were like, no, we need it out loud. So we ended up finding the house that we were going to use. They had a PowerPoint. We just ran the longest extension cord we could. Luckily, we bored enough and powered it to the actual speaker, played it through that, and that was perfectly fine. We didn't like mute cymbals or anything because no one was there. They were just like, there's no one here. There's some wedding parties that were leaving, but they're just like, they're leaving at 10 and we were starting at 10 anyway. So they're like, don't even worry. Like, you can be as loud as you want. Like, it's perfectly fine. So sound-wise wasn't an issue. It was just obviously the drums were so loud, but again, they could hear everything perfectly fine. We just had the speaker stereo turned up as much as we could to make it like, as long as I could hear it, I was fine. I just said, look, as long as you guys can hear it and play, we can make it work. But yeah, sound was definitely not an issue this time around.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. And camera-wise, what did you shoot with?
Just used the a7III. So that was just the main one, and then used a 24 and my 50mm lens every now and then. I did have some shots with my 7.5mm 7 Artisan, so I used that with a C-stand and got them to kind of perform in the SWAT and did some like stable shots just to have it there as for drums, single takes. So we had them standing like in a really dense part of the forest and then just had the fisheye like really close to them, like in a weird angle. So that looked really nice, and I just did, and they were just like, oh, that works really well. Yeah, let's do that. And so we did more of that and did some single shots with each member. So I had the two vocalists on who are also on guitar, have them in a shot together. So one in the background in the forest, one closer to. Framing-wise, it was usually 24s and then a 50 for kind of like the further shots to get a little bit of tightness to it because I really wanted to compress the background and kind of have it be like it's an actual forest. It's not just like a forest with a few houses on the side. So we made it look pretty dense as much as we could.
Yeah, great. Crew-wise?
Crew-wise, it was, again, just me. Like, I just do everything myself. We did have a mate of mine, Beth, who goes by Act4 on Instagram. She came and did some BTS, so she just came in, like, shot some photos, which I end up using in the video as well, because I just said to her, like, hey, look, if you take any photos of the band, let me know. And she took photos while they're performing, so I end up splicing them in and, use them alongside with some, like, kind of Polaroid effects to make it look kind of interesting, because they were just like, oh, we need a little bit more, and I was like, let's chuck this in there. And they're like, oh, that's actually really, really nice. That works really well for it. And it kind of fit the vibe of the song. But again, all just me, like just filming the whole thing. So it wasn't too hard on it. It was pretty easy day for me.
And the sun was your lighting?
Absolutely, it was all sun. I think the day before it was pissing with rain. So we were just like, this is going to suck. This is not going to be good. And luckily the day of I was driving up from Southeast and from Clyde North. and realized it started to get a bit drizzly and went, oh no, this is going to be bad. Like we're not going to get anything done. And luckily enough, like we got there, and by the time I got there, the sun was out shining through the trees. So it kind of worked really well. And there's a little bit of fog there as well. So that kind of worked with the aspect of the video. So I was like, oh, thank God. Like the sun's just happily shone on us that day.
Yeah, great. To wrap up today's episode, Andrew, do you have any advice for people that would want to get into doing music video production?
Yeah, really just do as many takes as you want. At first, it's good to have too many takes just to have a little bit more to play with, and then you kind of get the role of how many takes you really need. More is good, less sucks in the editing bay, so you're not going to have a lot of experimentation to play with. Definitely filming more than you should at first, just to get those grips and get that experience in definitely is a good start to have. And then editing to a beat. Beats are really nice. Knowing how a song goes beforehand, I always listen to a song weeks before they even perform the song in the studio or in the venue. I usually get that down pat and listen to it like hundreds of times just to get an idea of like, this shot's going to look cool, this shot's going to look great, we're going to edit here, we're going to cut beat here. Usually getting that sense first like really gets my brain working into shots that will look good, that I can let them know and say, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. And they'll go, oh, didn't think of that. Let's give that a go. Lots of research and like, lots of preparation, even before you've even like discussed shots, even listening to the song and being like, okay, this is what I think the video would look like. Propose it to the client and say, hey, look, this is what we can do. Let's see what works and see how they feel.
Awesome. Great advice. Well, thank you, Andrew, for joining us on the Your Story Studios podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.